Well, good morning, aviators, and welcome into the holding pattern. The quick update: Karen the Red Baron's back, ready to go into the air. Of course, we've got horrible weather here this weekend, so it's not going to be until early next week. If you've been following along, the last time we flew her down to Victoria, we noticed a pretty decent offset between the left and the right prop levers. And in fact, we were on the way back from Victoria, and as we tried to slow the prop down less than 2,300 RPMs on the left-hand engine, we got pretty close to what would be the feather detent, and so we didn't go any farther and went ahead and flew on back. We didn't have any problems. The RPM was not hunting, it was not surging. We didn't have any problems pushing up to a fine pitch to high RPM, so we did have full horsepower in case we had to go around on landing. So it really wasn't an emergency. When we got on the ground, we sent it down to the A&P folks. We also talked with the Hartzell folks, and they said, look, it looks like your governor's working just fine, so go ahead and look for a rigging issue. So we instructed the A&Ps to do that. Unfortunately, they came to the conclusion, which turned out to be the wrong one, that it was the governor. They pulled the governor off, sent the governor off to Redline in Colorado. Turns out the governor was just fine. So they sent it back, and we were back to the same problem. We went ahead and pushed back and said, gee, did you look at every possible rigging point? Because that seems to be the issue. And they came back to us and said, gosh, we think your cable has stretched and it's out of adjustment. We went ahead and started pulling the cowling and pushing harder, and lo and behold, we found a little tiny clamp that clamps onto the oil line support, which is bolted underneath the left-hand bank of cylinders. And this little clamp has two phenolic inserts that grab a hold of the cable to keep it from moving forward and backwards, so that when you operate the cable inside of the sleeve, it doesn't move. And that turned out to be the problem. We ordered two of those. They came back on Tuesday. They put them in, adjusted it, all back to normal. So the watchword is, yes, trust your A&P, but remember, as the owner operator or pilot, you are allowed and certainly should remove cowlings and start looking yourself into some of the research yourself before the A&P goes the easy route and condemns something that is really not wrong with your airplane, which, one, costs you more money, but more importantly, the plane's down during that time. You can't fly it, and that just adds to the operating cost per hour because you weren't able to fly your airplane. So, lesson learned. We will make sure that we do as much research as we possibly can before we just turn it over to the A&P folks and see whether or not that does help us get to a solution faster and better. So that's it. See you next time in the holding pattern.